Think you know American tractors? Sure, everyone's heard of John Deere, but what about the giants that pioneered American farming? Today, we're uncovering 10 massive American-made tractors that revolutionized agriculture but somehow got lost to history. Number 10. Waterl Boy, the tractor that built John Deere. Before John Deere dominated the tractor world, there was the Waterl Boy. Built by the Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company in Iowa starting in 1914, this kerosene-burning workhorse became the foundation of an empire. The Model N, introduced in 1916, featured a massive two-cylinder horizontal engine producing 25 horsepower. At 6,183 pounds, it was no lightweight, but farmers loved its simplicity and reliability. What made the Waterl Boy special wasn't just its power, it was its practicality. Running on cheap kerosene when gasoline was still hard to come by in rural areas, it gave farmers an affordable alternative to steam power. The tractor featured 2 forward speeds and reverse, plus that distinctive Johnny Popper sound that would become synonymous with John Deere. The engine's 6.5-inch bore and 7-inch stroke created a slow, steady rhythm that farmers could hear from miles away. Here's the kicker. Deere & Company was struggling to develop their own tractor when they discovered the Waterl Boy. Their own Don all-wheel drive tractor project had failed spectacularly, costing $1,500 per unit when farmers wanted something under $1,000. In 1918, they bought the entire Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company for $2.35 million. The original check for $2.1 million is now displayed at the John Deere Museum in Waterloo. That acquisition might have been the most important decision in John Deere's history. The Waterl Boy continued production under Deere ownership until 1923, when it evolved into the legendary Model D. Nearly 30,000 Waterl Boys were sold, with over 8,000 Model Rs and thousands more Model Ns rolling off the line. These tractors didn't just plant Deere in the tractor business, they literally powered America's agricultural revolution, replacing millions of horses and changing farming forever. If that last tractor weighed more than your house, give us a like and subscribe before it plows through your Wi-Fi signal. Number 9. HartPar 3060. Old Reliable. The HartPar company of Charles City, Iowa holds a special place in tractor history. Not only did they build the first commercially successful gasoline tractor in 1903, but their sales manager, W.H. Williams, coined the very word tractor in 1906. Before that, these machines were called gasoline traction engines, quite a mouthful. Williams was struggling to write advertising copy when he combined traction and motor into the snappy new term. The HartPar 3060, nicknamed Old Reliable, was a true prairie giant. Weighing in at 19,750 pounds, with a 2-cylinder engine featuring a 10-inch bore and 15-inch stroke, this behemoth could pull massive breaking plows through virgin sod. Built from 1906 to 1918, over 4,114 units rolled out of the Charles City factory. The engine displacement was a whopping 2,356 cubic inches, burning either gasoline or kerosene with equal efficiency. Charles Hart and Charles Parr met as engineering students at the University of Wisconsin, where they built their first engines as their thesis project. Their innovation? They pioneered the use of oil cooling instead of water, preventing freeze-ups in winter and boil-overs under heavy loads. The oil had a boiling point of 400 degrees Fahrenheit compared to water's 212 degrees Fahrenheit, making it ideal for hard-working engines. HartPar also developed the first successful system for burning low-grade kerosene in 1905, adding water injection in 1906 to prevent pre-ignition. This cut operating costs dramatically compared to gasoline-only machines. Their engines featured valve in head design years before the automobile industry claimed it as their innovation. The company eventually merged with Oliver in 1929, but their legacy as founders of the tractor industry remains. That original HartPar number 3 from 1903, it worked on the George Mitchell farm for 23 years before being restored and donated to the Smithsonian, where it's recognized as the oldest surviving internal combustion tractor in America. Number 8. CL Best 60, the other half of Caterpillar. Before there was Caterpillar, there was fierce competition between two California companies, Holt and Best. C.L. Best, son of Daniel Best, who sold his company to Holt for $325,000 in 1905, wasn't content to sit on the sidelines. In 1910, he started his own company, the C.L. Best Gas Traction Company, and by 1913 was building crawler tractors that rivaled anything Holt produced. The Best 60 crawler was a masterpiece of engineering. Unlike Holt's tractors that still used a front steering wheel until 1914, Best's crawlers used differential steering, stopping one track to turn. The tummy, 60 inches, delivered reliable power through tracks that could navigate the soft California Delta soils where wheeled tractors would sink. Best pioneered the use of high-grade steel instead of cast iron, making his machines lighter yet stronger. The tracks themselves were an innovation, using hardened steel pins and bushings that lasted far longer than competitors' designs. What really set Best apart was constant innovation. CL personally tested every design, making improvements based on farmer feedback. His Model 60 featured power-assisted steering for the front tiller wheel, a feature missing from Holt's machines. The engine was Best's own 4-cylinder design, producing smooth power that farmers loved. His tractors earned a reputation for being the best-built machines money could buy. The rivalry between Best and Holt was so intense they spent $1.5 million in legal battles between 1907 and 1918, fighting over patents and design infringements. Both companies also faced competition from the Fordson tractor, which threatened to dominate the market with low prices. Finally, in 1925, banker Harry Fair convinced both companies that merger was the only way to survive. The two companies merged to form Caterpillar Tractor Company, with the Best 60's advanced design features becoming standard on Cat machines. Without C.L. Best pushing the envelope and forcing Holt to innovate, the yellow machines that built America might never have existed. Number 7. Avery 4080, the sliding gear giant. The Avery Company of Peoria, Illinois, built some of the most innovative and massive tractors of the early 1900s. Their 4080 model, produced from 1913 to 1920, was an 11-ton monster rated at 40 horsepower at the drawbar and 80 at the belt pulley. This giant could pull 8 to 10 plow bottoms through the toughest prairie sod, turning raw land into productive farmland. What made Avery tractors unique was their revolutionary sliding frame transmission. Instead of using a clutch and gearbox like other tractors, the entire engine and radiator slid forward and backward on the frame to engage different gears. Operators literally moved the engine to shift. The system used massive bull gears and offered 2 forward speeds plus reverse. It sounds crazy, but Avery claimed it was the simplest and most efficient tractor transmission built. The design eliminated the clutch entirely, reducing the number of parts that could break. Founded after the Civil War by Robert Avery, who designed farm equipment while imprisoned at Andersonville, the company had innovation in its DNA. Robert sketched his first corn planter design in the sand of the prison yard. They built everything from the massive 4080 down to smaller models, all featuring distinctive round vertical tube radiators with the exhaust stack running up through the center. The 4080's 4-cylinder opposed engine had cylinders with a 7.5-inch bore and 9-inch stroke, creating massive torque. Avery was riding high until the agricultural depression of 1921 hit hard. At its peak, the company had a factory covering 27 acres in Peoria and employed 4,000 workers. They even absorbed the Bartholomew Company, makers of Glide automobiles, in 1920. Despite having innovative products including trucks and even automobiles, the company couldn't adapt to changing times. Missing crucial elements like engineering research and farmer training programs sealed their fate. By 1924, Avery was bankrupt and out of the tractor business, but collectors today prize these engineering marvels, especially that unique sliding transmission that was decades ahead of its time. Number 6. Minneapolis Molen UDLX Comfort Tractor. In 1938, Minneapolis Molen did something revolutionary. They asked, what if a tractor could be as comfortable as a car? The result was the UDLX Comfort Tractor, the world's first production tractor with a fully enclosed heated cab. This wasn't just a tractor, it was a statement about the future of farming and the dignity of agricultural work. The UDLX featured amenities that wouldn't become standard for another 40 years. A heater with air ventilation and temperature control, radio, windshield wipers, padded seats for two, speedometer, ammeter, oil pressure gauge, water temperature gauge, clock, rear view mirror, sun visor, and even a cigar lighter and ashtray. Painted in bright prairie gold with chrome bumpers and hubcaps, it could hit 40 miles per hour on the highway thanks to its 5-speed transmission. The fifth gear was a direct drive that also disengaged all other gears to reduce friction. The idea was farmers could work the fields all day, then drive the family to town in the evening in the same vehicle. The engineering was impressive. The 283.7 cubic inch four-cylinder engine produced 41.5 belt horsepower at 1,275 revolutions per minute. For road use, the governor automatically increased engine speed to 1,785 revolutions per minute when shifted into fifth gear. Entry was through a large rear door, and the passenger seat folded against the wall until needed. But at $2,155, when a regular tractor cost $1,000 and a Ford tractor just $600, farmers weren't buying the luxury concept. Only 150 UDLX tractors were built between 1938 and 1941, with serial numbers running from 310401 to 310551. Most farmers thought comfort features were for soft city folks, not hardworking agricultural men. The few that sold mostly went to custom threshermen who appreciated staying warm while traveling between jobs at high speed. Some Minneapolis Molen Zone managers also drove them to visit dealerships. Today, these rare machines are the holy grail of tractor collecting, with restored examples selling for over $200,000 at auction. The UDLX was simply too far ahead of its time, predicting the cab comfort that every modern farmer now takes for granted. Number 5. Rumley Oil Pole Kerosene Annie. The Rumley Oil Pole earned its nickname Kerosene Annie by being the first American tractor to successfully burn cheap kerosene instead of gasoline. Built by Advance Rumley Company in LaPorte, Indiana, from 1910 to 1930, nearly 60,000 oil poles revolutionized farming by dramatically cutting fuel costs. The first prototype, built in 1909, proved that kerosene could power a reliable farm tractor. What made the oil pole special was its unique cooling system. It used oil instead of water. Engineer John Secor, who'd studied with Rudolf Diesel in Europe, designed an engine that ran so efficiently on kerosene it needed the higher boiling point of oil, 400 degrees Fahrenheit versus water's 212 degrees Fahrenheit, to stay cool. The oil was circulated through a distinctive tall radiator that looked like a small building with the exhaust stack running up through it to create natural convection. Cool air was drawn in from the bottom, and the combination of convection and exhaust heat created a powerful updraft. The oil pole came in various sizes, from the smaller Model H 1630 up to the massive Model E 3060. The popular Type F model had a single cylinder with a 10-inch bore and 12-inch stroke. Starting it required the operator to climb out onto the massive flywheel and use their body weight to turn it over, then rush back to adjust the choke. These tractors were built like battleships, heavy, powerful, and virtually indestructible. The engines featured a unique carburation system that mixed water with the fuel to prevent knocking, allowing the use of any grade of kerosene. Dr. Edward Rumley wrote that the oil pole opened the world's last great power market to mechanical motors, replacing 18 out of 25 million horses across America. The company had started with steam engines in 1895 before moving to internal combustion. When Alice Chalmers bought Advance Rumley in 1931 for its extensive dealer network and threshing machine line, they acquired not just a tractor line, but the engineering expertise that would influence tractor design for decades. Many oil poles are still running today at antique tractor shows, testament to their incredible durability. Number 4. Holt 75 Caterpillar, the tractor that named an industry. Benjamin Holt's 1904 invention of the first practical crawler tractor in Stockton, California, literally gave the construction industry its most famous name. During a Thanksgiving Day test in a peat bog on Roberts Island, company photographer Charles Clements watched the tracks undulate over the ground and exclaimed, "It crawls like a caterpillar." Holt loved it and trademarked the name in 1910, though he didn't register Caterpillar until 1911. The Holt 75, introduced in 1913, became the most successful of the early Caterpillars. Powered by a 75 horsepower 4-cylinder gasoline engine and weighing 24,000 pounds, it could work in soft soils where wheeled tractors sank hopelessly. The design eliminated the huge drive wheels that made steam tractors impractical, replacing them with tracks made from 3x4-inch redwood slats that distributed weight evenly. By 1915, Holt employed 1,000 workers in Stockton, and nearly 2,000 Caterpillars had been sold in over 20 countries. During World War I, Holt 75S became the backbone of military logistics, hauling artillery and supplies across the muddy battlefields of Europe. The military ordered so many that Holt licensed production to other manufacturers, including 442 units built by Ruston and Hornsby in Britain. Over 10,000 Holt crawlers served in the war effort. Colonel Ernest Swinton publicly thanked Holt in 1918, noting that studying these machines inspired the development of the tank. The tracks could handle terrain that would stop any wheeled vehicle, leading to their nickname, Mud Crushers. Back home, they were transforming agriculture, especially in California's Delta region where conventional tractors couldn't operate. The San Joaquin Valley's rich peat soil, which could swallow a man up to his knees, was finally farmable thanks to Holt's crawlers. The 75 continued production until 1924, just 1 year before Holt merged with rival CL Best to form Caterpillar Inc. That merger created a company valued at $51 million that would literally help build modern America, from the Panama Canal to the interstate highway system. Number 3. Gray, 1836, the drum drive wonder. The Gray Tractor Company of Minneapolis created one of the most unique designs in tractor history. Instead of 2 rear drive wheels, the Gray used a single large drum that ran the full width of the tractor. Built from 1914 to 1933, it was unlike anything else in the field and represented a completely different approach to the traction problem. The design started with New York fruit grower W. Chandler Knapp, who needed a low tractor for orchard work in 1908. He developed the drum drive concept to reduce soil compaction. The wide drum distributed weight better than conventional wheels. The drum was actually hollow, reducing overall weight while maintaining strength. When Joseph W. Gray's Gray Tractor Manufacturing Company bought Knapp's design in 1914, they marketed it as the solution to heavy tractors sinking in soft soil. The company reorganized in 1917, dropping manufacturing from its name. The Gray 1836 featured a 4-cylinder Waukesha engine mounted crossways in the frame, producing 32 brake horsepower at the belt. This transverse mounting was unusual but allowed for a compact design. The drum was driven through a chain drive system offering 2 forward speeds of 1.5 and 2 miles per hour. At its 1920 Nebraska test, it successfully pulled a 4-bottom 14-inch plow while weighing significantly less than comparable tractors. The single rear drum eliminated the need for a differential, simplifying the design and reducing potential failure points. Though the unusual appearance drew skeptics, farmers who bought them swore by their traction and flotation. One farmer reported his Gray could work in muddy conditions that would stop any wheeled tractor. Gray tractors worked from Minnesota to Australia, with the Canadian Special 2240 model being especially popular in Manitoba's heavy soils. The company survived longer than many competitors, undergoing reorganizations in 1917 and 1925 before finally closing in 1933 during the Depression. Today, these unique machines are prized by collectors for their innovative engineering and distinctive appearance. You'll never mistake a Gray for anything else. Number 2. Bull Tractor, America's 3-wheeled wonder. The Bull Tractor Company of Minneapolis had the fastest rise and fall in tractor history. Their Little Bull, introduced at the 1913 Minnesota State Fair and entering production in 1914 at just $335, became America's best-selling tractor within a year. With a tiny 12-horsepower twin-cylinder, opposed engine producing 5 horsepower at the drawbar, it promised to replace a team of horses for the price of 2 poor ones. The company's advertising claimed it could work day and night without feeding, no currying, no chores. The Bull's 3-wheel design was distinctive. One large drive wheel 6 feet in diameter ran in the furrow with steel lugs for traction. A smaller wheel on the land side kept it level. adjustable for different plow depths, and a single front wheel with a large central spine steered. The 3,050-pound Little Bull was a fraction the weight of other tractors. Initially built by Andrews Heating Company, production moved to Minneapolis Steel and Machinery Company. Farmers desperate for affordable mechanical power bought 3,800 of them in 2 years, making Bull briefly the largest tractor manufacturer in America by units sold. But the Little Bull's Achilles heel was reliability. The exposed drivetrain sucked in dirt and dust. The final drive used exposed bull gears that wore rapidly, and the two-cycle engine was temperamental. The design also had a dangerous tendency to tip over backward when pulling heavy loads. Farmers returned them by the hundreds, many saying they'd been stung. The company rushed out the larger Big Bull 720 in 1915, increasing to 1224 in 1917, but the damage was done. Subcontractor disputes meant Bull couldn't get engines reliably. They contracted with several suppliers, including Toro Motor Company. When Henry Ford introduced the Fordson in 1917 at a similar price point but with proven reliability and a 4-cylinder engine, Bull's fate was sealed. A desperate 1919 merger attempt with Madison Motors Corporation failed. By 1920, the company was history, though it deserves credit for proving the massive market for small, affordable tractors, a lesson John Deere, International Harvester, and others took to heart. Number 1. Cod Tractor, Minnesota's mechanical marvel. The Cod Gas Tractor Company of Crookston, Minnesota, built fewer than 100 tractors between 1915 and 1919, but their engineering ambition was boundless. Cod stood for Cash on Delivery, projecting confidence in an era of fly-by-night tractor companies. The company originated in Crookston before moving operations to Minneapolis and having tractors built by St. Paul Foundry and Manufacturing Company. Designed by the prolific inventor Albert O. Espy, who held numerous tractor patents used by other manufacturers, the Cod featured a 2-cylinder opposed L-head engine with detachable cylinders. With a 6.5-inch bore and 7-inch stroke, it produced 13 drawbar and 25 belt horsepower. The 1917 sales literature proclaimed their motor had every desirable feature that mechanical genius could possibly design. Bold words for a small company. The ignition system promised the hottest kind of spark at the proper time, and claimed to be the best that can be secured in the ignition world today. The Cod was built for Minnesota's harsh conditions. The fully enclosed engine compartment protected vital components from dust and weather, a feature many larger manufacturers hadn't adopted. The Model B, introduced around 1917, featured high-quality materials and precision manufacturing that gave these tractors a reputation for reliability that larger manufacturers envied. Each tractor was essentially hand-built with careful attention to detail. Weight was approximately 4,000 pounds, making it manageable for smaller farms. But the post-World War I agricultural depression and a massive price increase from $785 in 1915 to $1,485 by 1919 doomed the company. When St. Paul Foundry was left with unsold tractors after Cod TT's demise, they continued to sell parts for years. They closed in 1919, leaving behind fewer than 10 known surviving tractors. One restored example is displayed at the Polk County Museum in Crookston, having never left the county. Today, these rare machines can command $20,000 at auction, testament to their quality and the what-if story of a company that built better tractors than they did businesses. These 10 forgotten giants helped transform America from horse-powered to horsepower. While their names might have faded, their innovations live on in every modern tractor. From the Waterl Boy's DNA in every John Deere to the comfort features pioneered by Minneapolis Molen, these machines earned their place in history. They remind us that before the big names dominated, American innovation came from workshops and small factories across the heartland. If you enjoyed discovering these iron treasures, hit that subscribe button and help us keep these stories alive. After all, somebody's got to remember the machines that built America.